do you see the U.S. Hegemony collapsing and taking down its allies with it? And in the wake of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia might peg its currency with yuan, and it's already moved to gold. So how do you see the economical shift on the global scale?
Well, the invasion of Ukraine, which is, of course, criminal aggression, has had already a number of major consequences for world order. One thing is it has strengthened US dominance and hegemony. President Putin carried out not only a criminal action, but a very stupid one. He gave the United States its fondest wish on a silver platter. He handed Europe over to the United States. Throughout the whole Cold War, there's been a question about the status of Europe. Will it become an independent force in world affairs, as it certainly can, given its population, its resources, education, and so on? But will it be an independent force, or will it be subordinate to the United States? That has been a major issue since the end of the Second World War. There were statesmen like Charles de Gaulle, who called for an independent Europe, as he put it, from the Atlantic to the Urals, incorporating Russia, which would, with no military alliances. That was carried forward to a certain extent in Germany, by what was called Ostpolitik, accommodations with the East, Willy Brandt, others. After the Soviet Union collapsed, Mikhail Gorbachev put forth an even broader picture, called a common European home, as he put it, from Lisbon to Vladivostok, but with no military alliances, just commercial, cultural relations. That would be very advantageous to Europe for all sorts of reasons, commercial, cultural, security, and so on. The United States, in the same years, right after the fall of the Soviet Union, had a rather similar proposal. It was called Partnership for Peace. The Partnership for Peace could have brought together the countries of Europe and Asia. NATO was not eliminated, but it was marginalized. Countries could join the Partnership for Peace without being members of NATO, so it was not too dissimilar from Gorbachev's proposal. That was a possibility. President Clinton undermined it by inviting first so-called Visegrad countries, Poland, Romania, Czechoslovakia, inviting them into NATO. That was in violation of firm promises made by his predecessor, George Bush, first Bush, that NATO would not expand. He did it mainly for domestic political reasons, Polish vote and so on. George W. Bush, the second Bush, just opened the door, even offered Ukraine, invited Ukraine to join. What was understood by the entire US political class and diplomatic corps, heads of the CIA and others, that inviting Ukraine into NATO is something no Russian leader would ever tolerate. You can see exactly why if you look at a topographical map. Russia has no defenses. Just look at Operation Barbarossa, the German invasion of Russia went right through Ukraine all the way up to Moscow. So no Russian leader was ever going to accept this. Well, that's the end result of Putin's invasion is to drive Europe into the hands of the United States. Now the idea of a common European home is gone. Europe is completely subordinate to the United States within the NATO framework. Well, that's greatly increases US power. Now what's shaping up after this is a world in which China is slowly, carefully expanding its development and loan programs. Pakistan's included, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Belt and Road Initiative. It spreads into Africa, South Pacific. And as today in the New York Times, you can read a lament about how these Chinese programs are pushing the United States out of the South Pacific. by just, you can't compete with development programs by saying, I'll send you more arms. That doesn't work. So China's slowly extending its power. Now Russia will probably join it as a junior partner. Russia's a fading kleptocracy, but it has a huge store of minerals and all kinds of natural resources. The idea of pegging the currency, which you brought up, that's of some significance. They're probably, I mean, Europe, if it was independent, could have established the euro as a foundation of international trade and commerce, but that would require an independent Europe there. And now Putin's closed off that option, at least for now. Most of the global South is not joining the United States and Europe in its war with Russia. You take a look at the sanctions map, they're not part of the sanctions. Much of the third world, the global South, condemns the invasion of Ukraine, but says, I don't understand what you people are upset about. This is what you do to us all the time. So what's new? Now there's another war criminal along with you. They're just not taking part. They're maintaining open relations with China, with Russia. In fact, it's kind of odd to read it. Yesterday, I read a report in the Hindustan Times condemning Pakistan for keeping its relations open with Russia, which is exactly what India does. So that's, but this is basically the global South is saying, this is your fight, not ours. We're going to keep relations open with Russia and China while deploring the invasion. Just another crime of the kind that you carry out all the time. Well, that's the world that's shaping up. The major confrontation, I think, will be between the United States and China. That's been made very clear in US policy, even just a couple of days ago when Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was in Asia. He was setting up what's called the Indo-Pacific system to try to create what they're quite openly doing. I mean, it's not secret, is to encircle China. That's the phrase that's used, to encircle China with sentinel states, South Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, heavily armed, the armaments aimed at China, backed by a huge fleet of nuclear submarines, US nuclear submarines, which a single submarine, one, is capable of destroying maybe 200 cities anywhere in the world, but they're not powerful enough, so they're being replaced by more powerful ones. All of this aimed at China, and it's called defense against China. The defense against China is not off the coast of California, it's off the coast of China. And the idea is, Blinken said just a couple of days ago, China is challenging US dominance in Asia, and that can't be tolerated. That's aggression, can't confront US, but China is not intimidated. It's not like Europe.
Yeah, just yesterday, Chinese aircrafts were performing their exercises close to the Taiwan border. So China is not afraid anymore. That's pretty obvious.
That's the problem. When the United States gives orders, Europe follows them, even if it doesn't like it. So, for example, when the US imposes sanctions on Iran after pulling out of the joint agreement, Europe is outraged, doesn't like it, but they keep to the sanctions because they don't want to offend the United States. But China isn't like that. They are not intimidated. They go their own way.
But don't you think?
Real problem to the United States.